Alright, so this is where we ended in the last video, and once again I will just open our level 01 studio as a starting point and then save current level as level 04 underscore carbon surface. And so in this example we're going to take it a step further and reveal a surface with cloners and effectors made out of multiple shapes. And so it will be easier to work on if we scale up the GPU and make everything a bit larger, because dealing with the tiny cloned objects can be a bit tedious and annoying. And so if I put the camera in place, we want to essentially reveal the middle of this fan as if it's made out of carbon fiber, which it isn't, but we're just coming up with some cool effects to learn the motion design tools, right? So first of all, the fan spinning is gonna be a bit distracting, so you can just go to the operator stack and turn it off. Next, right away, we can create a new Cine camera actor, drag it in here, increase the focal length a little bit to zoom in on the center of the fan, and lower the focus distance until it's in focus. Now I'll get out of the camera mode for now so we can just move around. And so this centerpiece is unfortunately just one piece, but I need to remove the cap. So once again, I'll go to the modeling mode, Xform, split, and accept. Now I can just select the cap and hit F2 and rename it as fan cap and hide it. Now it looks like it's invisible, and that's just because the material is not double-sided. So we need to go back to our material folder, M_GPU, and make sure you check two-sided safe. So we can go to motion design mode, cloners, and create a honeycomb cloner. And as always, I want to reset the location and rotation. I want to give it width and height count of 10. And we need to scale down the mesh and also reset the rotation of the cubes as well. So click on the arrow to reset the cubes and set the scale to 0.1. And then we need to just lower the spacing. And so I'm including these three simple shapes with the course. The download link is under the video. So just download it, extract the zip file, and drag these three shapes directly into Unreal Engine. And we will start with the hexagon outer. So you can just drag it into the level, make it movable, and then drop it on top of the cloner. You can delete the default cube and then start scaling down the hexagon. So I'm doing 0.04 for the scale and then 30 degrees on the Z to get them to align properly to each other. And then you need to just play with the spacing until there's nice even gaps between them. And you should end up with a nice honeycomb surface like this, but it's all still gonna be way too big. Now just be careful, because after we split up that fan piece, those pieces are no longer in the GPU group. So make sure you select all of the fan hub pieces and drag them back under the GPU so they all move together. And I will scale up the GPU even more. And I want to make sure that the cloner is centered to the fan hub. Fan cap, location, copy, and then the cloner location, paste. Move it up, and now the cloner is centered in the fan hub, and I just need to adjust the scale of the hexagons until it fits nicely. So final numbers, I did 0.004 for the scale of the hexagons, and 0.8 for the width spacing, and 2.8 for the height spacing. Now I can just increase the width count to 50 and the height count to 50 to cover the entire fan area. And with the cloner selected, go to Effector, Create Linked Effector. We will probably have to scale it way down. So I'm just gonna keep scaling it down until it covers just the center. Increase the inner radius, set the scale to 0, and then click Invert Type. And now, as you drag the scale up and down, you're just beautifully revealing this hexagon surface. So drop the effector into your sequencer. Let's give ourselves 500 frames as usual. And for the effector, I want to click on the plus sign and say transform and set a keyframe. And I basically want it to end looking like this. So I can move this keyframe to the end and then go back to frame 0, click, and lower the scale all the way down until there's almost nothing there. Release, and make sure that it's set the keyframe properly. And here you go. You have it nicely expanding. And as usual, we want to select those keyframes and hit 4 to make them linear. Now to make this more interesting, we're gonna fill the gaps in the hexagons with the other shape. At this point, it's really important that you save everything because it has crashed on me before when I was duplicating cloners, which it sometimes doesn't like. So make sure you save your work, and then with the cloner selected, just do Ctrl D. Now you want to copy the scale of this one, which is 0.004, so you can just remember it and delete that, and then go back to our meshes folder and drag out the hexagon inner, make it movable, and drop it under cloner 2, and paste the scale. And it should update and fill up. So I want to copy the effector, Ctrl D, and for the first cloner, you want to go under Effectors and remove Effector 2. So just click on the arrow to clear it out. And for cloner 2, I don't want to use Effector 1. I only want to use Effector 2. So we have a separate effector for each cloner. And so when I renamed it, it lost the connection. So this second effector turned red. So you can just right click, say Assign Actor, and assign Effector 2 to it. And now you can just move the track for Effector 2, and you will effectively offset it, right? So we have the first effector showing up, and then the second one. So we have this nice filling up of the surface. And our shot will basically start right here on frame 76. So let's change the materials. So materials folder, and I want to use the MI plastic one. So for the hex outer, just use that material, and same thing for the hex inner. And I forgot to rotate the hex inner, so it's 30 degrees on the Z. So now they fit in perfectly. All right, so we could end it here, but I want to make it a bit more interesting by adding one more layer. Same as before, make sure you save everything before you duplicate the cloner. And I want to grab cloner 2 and Ctrl D. And I want to select Effector 2, Ctrl D to make Effector 3. And so cloner 2 shouldn't be affected by Effector 3, and cloner 3 shouldn't be affected by cloner 2, right? Each number should correspond to each other. So cloner 2, Effector 2, cloner 3, Effector 3. I think you get it. So in the sequencer, the second Effector 2 is red again, so I need to right click, Assign Actor, Effector 3, and I need to change its shape to a torus. I also need to invert the type, and I need to, let's see, play with the radius and the inner radius and outer radius until I get just a sliver, just a line, right? So this is what the torus is doing, and I want it to be right on the edge. And so now, to make it really obvious what's happening, we're gonna give it a glowing material. So I want to copy the M_GPU and just call it M_emissive, and hold 3 on the keyboard and click. And I want it to have this green color again. And I want to be able to control the strength of the emissiveness. So I'll hold M to make a multiply node and connect the color to the A, connect the multiply to the emissive color, and the B is the multiplier. So I can hold 1, a simple float, or just a number, and connect that to the B, and right click, convert to parameter, emissive boost, and set it to 5. Save that. And now I can right click and say create material instance and call it MI_emissive, and apply that material to my cloner 3 hex inner. And I'm gonna get a nice illuminated ring, and I can open that material instance, enable the emissive boost, and in real time, I can change the strength of the emissiveness and see how it's affecting my scene. So I think I'll do 10 in this case. Just minimize it, go back to your sequencer and see what this looks like. Maybe lower the Effector 2 radius to give it more time to grow. And here you go. So I think that's very close to what I did in the promo for this course. And so now we can just play with the lighting a little bit. So let's animate the camera, give it just a little bit of movement, transform, set a keyframe, and go forward. So this is where I want it to end. So I'll move that to the very end and then go back to frame 77 and move the camera back. So the camera moves in on the action. Hit 4 to make it linear. We also need to animate the focus distance. So it's in focus here, and then it's still in focus at the end, just like this. And I want to go to create light, point light. I want the fan blades to be catching a little bit of that green color. Lower the intensity to maybe just 0.5 and move it to the side. Check what that looks like in the camera. Nice, maybe still a bit too strong, 0.25. Now this rectangular light in the back is probably a bit too strong. And maybe it could be a bit more blue. And this light in the front could have a bluish tint as well. And finally, we can put a point light in the middle of the fan and move this below. I want this to be very subtle. Let's try 0.05. I'm not sure if I like it more with or without, so I'll leave it up to you. And finally, we can enable the fan to spin again. So I'll enable the rotation, and it feels a bit too strong in this shot. So I'll set it to 3 seconds, maybe even 4, so it spins pretty slowly. And I almost forgot about our post-process volume. So in this case, the bloom will actually make a difference to make our emissive pieces glow nicely. And contrast, just bump that up to maybe 1.25. So I hope that you're learning a lot, that you're picking up a lot of tips and tricks, and I'll see you in the next one.